once again to Moral High Ground. This is Moral High Ground. You can find it on Spotify, uh, Apple Podcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, and many other places. Um, Today is part three of what I'm talking about, building a perfect society or a better society. And I'm talking about obviously the Great Reset that I keep explaining to fix society, not the Great Reset that you may know of, where it has to do with eliminating people that are considered worthless in society. On the other hand, am thinking of taking people that they consider to be worthless and rehabilitating them into uh, citizens that can actually be, trusted, depended upon, and are decent people, and just someone to have your back, honestly. So part one, we talked about how men are supposed to, get a system that can help them become physically healthy, mentally stronger and smarter, and build bond of brotherhood, as well as learning how to love and protect a woman and their children, and lots of other different things that'll make a better male society. I also talk about in the second episode where I was explaining the same with women that they need help. A lot of more health issues with women based off of their biology that need to be addressed and taken care of when these women are coming from the streets and things like that, as well as being a mother and building trades based off of things that women have done in the past that might make them feel more humble as a person, more creative and successful. And so, also talk about their athletic prowess and so forth and so on. So right now I'm talking about the last part of this. Well, one of the last parts is children. Now I mentioned this before in this podcast where I talk about how unwanted kids should be a part of a place, and I'm not talking about an orphanage because orphanages kind of work on a different ground, and state owns them. Same thing with welfare or unemployment. I mean, not none of that. I'm saying crazy shit now, but I mean, like, there should be foster care system. That's where I was going with this. Foster care system always uh, has a way of punishing a kid in ways that you can't imagine, and stuff that causes mental illness to where they can get mental help beyond the age of 18 and still be owned by the state. It's like a way for the state to have private property within humans, and it's not a good thing. None of that's good. So I was talking about a facility that's a school that teaches all forms of education, all forms of martial arts, so like little groups these kids go to, like karate group, and then there's like all the different styles of karate, and so they have different groups of all them styles, and all the different styles of kung fu, with snakes, monkey, tiger, freaking, you know, crane, mantis, all them styles will be all different clubs, and be groups in all the different clubs that fight. Same thing with wrestling, boxing. I mean, Muay Thai. I can go on and on and on. There's tons of different things. You can make so many different clubs. They have to be taught how to use instruments and stuff. That way, we can bring instruments back into music a lot more than just uh, computerized beats. There's got to be something humans can do that's actually talented. Uh, I say there was a magic back in the day when rock bands and stuff came together. I mean, if you just play guitar by yourself, that's one thing. But if you're able to play with people and be able to sing, that's pretty talented. That's way more talented than messing around on your computer making beats and stuff. I done it, and it happened. Big deal. I got 5 albums out there. If you want to look for them, the Big Black African. Uh, Here on Spotify, Big Black African, Get Away from Mayberry Hills, and Big Black African, Respect Knuckles, and Serial Madness, and the Big Black African and Asian Thug. So I'm just mentioning them, but I don't care if you listen to them. My point is this, though, that there's a lot of talent that children have, and their hopes and opportunities that they have is for the future. If we're not just the future of themselves, but for all mankind, leaving a legacy behind, something where the hope of the parent to succeed in places that the parent couldn't, and that's all children. And so, with these kids that are lost, abandoned, you know, not loved, not cared for, wayward kids, we have to have a structure that can give them these talents. So one that can not overdo certain things. Like there should be one day where it's just all martial arts for them, or one day where it's all education, and maybe not just one day, but every other day. That way they learn to read better or whatever. But not in the setting that we have now, where there's groups of kids and they just sit there, and some kids are bored and some kids ain't. Well, you got to find the one that can learn a certain way like that constantly, and keep them in there. And there's just certain things they have to learn to do, and make sure kids' health is always number one, so they can feel things. But they're learning, their bodies are growing and learning how to adapt to certain illnesses, adapt to certain environments, and things like that. So their health is a little different than a grown up's health. Some of us break a hip or something, bam, we're done. Kid breaks one, it could probably heal and come back with a stronger hip. So that's something to be said. And so training these kids how to use weapons like bows and arrows or swords or whatever, things like that. So they can be, even more talented when they go and impress somebody in a tournament or something. Teaching them how to know the land, how to know agriculture, botany. They go out there and learn how to plant certain things, which each plant has a medical uh, purpose to it, and trying to figure out what plant has good beneficial properties when it comes to keeping each organ healthy. These are things kids should be able to know, as well as knowing the law, and not just the law in damn near every 50 states, but the law worldwide. Because, they travel across abroad and you end up getting into some nonsense, and then you're restricted to their laws and systems. So this is something children need to know. And I think the reason why children need to know these certain things is because a lot of us grown-ups weren't taught all these things. And it's something that would be beneficial. Not just that, you also have to be learning different languages. Have to be more bilingual than they, you know, can be. Have to know Spanish. You have to know French. You have to know Chinese, Japanese. You know, Zimbabwe. I don't know. You gotta know all of it. Okay, because if we got a country, and this is the ignorant part about America, is we accept everybody from other cultures, but don't really try to understand other cultures. I think the future generation will be able to understand it a lot better if we teach them as many tongues to talk at one time. If they can speak Spanish, if they can speak, what I'm saying, Brazilian, anything. You start learning all these different languages, then when someone new comes from another country, they're able to communicate with them and might build a better bond and relationship with these people. And so this is something I think that needs to be embedded into a system like this too, as well as once again, this is like don't want to say facility, but it's a structure, it's a building, it's um, a community of children that is guided by some form of well trusted individuals that care about the things they want to teach and want to share it to somebody. And so I believe that these kids will live there, maybe like a dorm setting, but to protect these children, each one of them has their own individual spots, and maybe two people, if they're able to really trust each other. Friends is a thing kids want. So they're able to make friends all the time. Kids will make friends with people that you wouldn't even think about making a friend with. Most people are more guarded and lose a lot of trust before they even uh, decide to even get into a relationship or any type of thing. So this is something where only a kid could understand, is how to make friends with anybody and everybody. So this is something where they have to find that bond and stuff and build that trust and build this not just brotherhood or sisterhood like you would with the man shelter thingy or the woman one, but with the kid one, it would be more of a thing where they're building family, because we're talking about abandoned children here. So that's their brother, that's their sister, whatever, you know. and their cousin or whatever, and they're able to love each other and work together, become solid group. Now, this you say, oh, this is like a fantasy of yours, Shelby. Now this still happen, but I can just see this happening in a more logical sense. If you get rid of all the people that's got bigot thoughts, all the people who has the ignorant thoughts that people can't do this, or you shouldn't listen to this, or you shouldn't like that, and get rid of those people. All those people should be involved in this type of thing because you get labeled all the time based off of what you look like, you know. But they don't really know what's upstairs. They don't know what's up here, what you really think, what you truly think, and who you truly are. And so, because of how you think and who you are, you're able to function that way. But in some cases, you have to dumb yourself down or break that personality, which is you, to make other people happy, to please them. Why are we trying to please people who can't even please themselves? Why even bother? So the thing comes to a point where you have to realize if you want something and you want to live a certain way, you got to do it your way. And you got to get what you want by not letting nothing get in your way or someone's opinion stopping you from getting in that way. So this is something that needs to be taught to children as they, because they're eventually they will be betrayed or something like that because it's the fate of the world. Not all people are good. Not all people are safe to be around. And so I believe a place that not just teaches and encourages creativity, encourages wisdom and knowledge and physical strength and health and all this needs to ignore the fact that there's negative things that will bring you down in the force of life. Okay. And when I say creativity, kids gotta, even know how to do art, bring back people knowing how to make things out of stones like statues and stuff by hand, or clay cups and crap. I forget what you call that right now, but you make the clay and then you put it in the stupid furnace thing. But anyway, so I mean, this stuff little kids will like, and this is something that will make them stronger and better people. You got to look at certain things in society as weakness, and I think this is the biggest flaw right now in America. Because so many people easily said, "I'm gonna be a drug addict," and there's so many of them out there from every state now. And you see videos of them on YouTube and things where they just stand around and they stay stuck or they're doing the crap. I mean, I don't even have to watch a video. I can just look outside the freaking door and there's freaking people getting stoned or not even stoned. It's like burnt out on their fentanyl and all that shit, and it's a bad thing because they're showing a certain thing to society that they don't care anymore about society. They don't care about living. They lost hope. And the only thing that makes them happy is being addicted to something that could ultimately destroy them and anybody else around them. And this is bad. And so we got to change that whole structure of thinking and bring it back to a way where people feel like they can achieve anything and nothing can hold them back. Nothing can stop them. That's what we want the world to be. That's what we need the world to be. America used to be a place where people thought they were the greatest, the best of the best. There was a time where you could talk about another country and you'd automatically be like, well, they're not better than America. They can't beat America. Oh, we're going to win. We're American. You don't got that kind of talking no more. People don't talk like that anymore. They don't even think like that anymore. They're always like, oh, America is oppressing people. People are just like, you know, racist or they're feminist and all this crap. And it's like, why can't we just try to be that greatest, the best of the best? Okay, the strongest, the alphas of all countries is, why not try that? You know, instead of just being a waste of space, a miserable person, someone lost and lonely. It's not a world worth trying to inspire people if you're always living like this. This is not the world that God intended us to live in, a place with misery and suffering. No, we're making that upon ourselves. So you can't blame a God for what humans already do to themselves and what they're trying to do to the rest of the world. This is bad. So ultimately, I say that we have to start somewhere. It has to start with the children and teaching them how to live, to want to be great, to be the best of the best, to be successful, to be that powerful role model and figure for someone else. And that's what we need the grown-ups to start doing, is be that role model, powerful figure, and guide people on the right path, including children. And this the ultimate thing. Yes, these kids could leave the facility whenever they felt like, and you know they're not being brainwashed. But then I also have to say with that, they have to obtain knowledge to make their brain strong. So once again, just like the other two topics of fixing the society, I say they need a great library of all knowledge, of all religions, so they can find their faith, someone to let them know where their place is in the world. And this is just the thing I believe in. And there's a lot of different other things I can add in there. Of course, sports is like I said with the other two. You have to have kids being athletic and understanding things, but not to the point where everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a trophy if the team wins. If they don't, then no. They don't get nothing. Kind of like Super Bowl rings. You get a Super Bowl ring when you win. But people got to understand how to lose, you know, and you got to know how it feels to have failure so you can conquer and become great. You know, it's just how the world needs to be. It's the way success is granted upon people. It's because they understand how it is to fail in life, to not keep yourself down there where you're constantly a failure. And that's the thing that needs to be separated too. And so I don't know. I'm just trying to explain, if we're going to make a better society, it starts with trying to re-educate the population, to get people thinking on a different path, to get them out of the norm of this uh, deep well we put ourselves in, you know. And I mean, the internet has a lot to do with that. A lot of things get said on the internet that influences people to do the most ridiculous of things. You know, I mean, look at some of these videos you see on these reels and you know, YouTube and all kinds of places where people are just trying to make these dumb practical jokes or something that's supposed to be funny, but it's only funny to them. Everybody doesn't have the same humor naturally, but some people aren't convinced of that. They all think they're same funny the same way, and it's not true. You know, it's something where you have to sit back and go, "Oh, is that funny?" You know, analyze humor sometimes now to the point to where it's not even worth analyzing or worth making a joke. So we just got to get pull ourselves out of this depression, this misery type of thing, and make things that's funny, funny, and make things that's, you know, loving, loving, and get rid of all this stupid shit. You know, it's like, come on, we need to come together in a way that makes other places look bad. Now, I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to think of a more positive lighting to this. Morally, I believe this is what we're supposed to do, is to strengthen ourselves, to come together as uh, one and as one people, not as different individuals, different groups, different settings, different religions and things. We got to bring it all together and become one. Okay, we got to be one people. Honestly, if you believe you came from two people, then, and I mean two people, like Adam and Eve, you know, whatever. You believe we came from that, then honestly, then we're all family in some sense. You know, and yes, that sounds messed up to those that want to stay stuck in the perversion part of it. But obviously, if someone doesn't like their family, they run off and create one of their own and never talk to that other family again. But then the result of that is they make their own family that might have five, six kids. Them kids grow up, they meet that other family without even realizing it. And this is the way it happens. And so, yes, you can imagine that there was a whole bunch of family members that separated because they didn't fit in, they didn't think like them, they didn't want to believe the ways that they practiced. And this is the same thing with this country. There's so many people out there that don't want to believe the way they're taught, or they don't want to believe the things they hear because it ain't what they want. We live in a selfish society right now where it's all about selfishness. It's all about me. But if it's all about you and it's all about that selfish desires you want, how come they don't work? How come you haven't got that relationship you wanted? How come you didn't get that money you wanted? How come you didn't get that power you desired? It just doesn't make any sense. It's because you're not doing enough things that balance out the scales and make things right, And I don't know. I'm just talking, but I'm trying to make a point to where we need to look and analyze things bit by bit, the drug problems in the streets, the homeless situation, the way certain facilities help people. Are they helping or are they enabling people to do these things? The way the law system works now, ever since COVID, it's all twisted about. The cops don't want to do their jobs or they just want to kill. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense, but yet diehard people that want to believe in the government, when it comes to the Democrats or Republicans. And to me, it's just like you're fighting for a certain team during the World Series or championships or football. Like I said, it's like, oh, I'm a Republican, da, 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 I'm a Republican, oh, I'm a Democrat. Who cares? Like seriously, we got to look at this. Even the government, look at it and say, are they doing right by us? Have they done right by us? Hundreds of years, I'll say no. Because right now we're in a place where they're not doing anything, and they want us to sit there and fight and pick over two old men who really don't give a damn about any of us. You can tell by their selfishness and their selfish desires of what they want. So it's just like we got to be wise, more understanding of what really is going on. Otherwise, we're victims of anything. And maybe, like I said, I was talking about the children thing, but I've done it before on a podcast, but maybe I'm not far off from how things should go. And yeah, it might be a dream of mine to have this facility any of these facilities that teach society how to be a better human, a better heart loving, red blooded American. And so, yeah, this is just the truth of the nature of things. I'm not going to keep going on about it, but I just believe we put too many damn rules, too many damn laws, too many restrictions, and yet people talk about it's the land of the free. It's the biggest contradiction ever. Because the only thing I see is free chaos. And it bothers me to the core, and maybe I'm the only one that looks around and sees chaos anywhere and evil. I see it all over the place. People with the most wickedest thoughts, demented crap. I'll be talking to somebody, trying to be friendly with them, and next thing I know, I hear the most demented thing or the most perverted thing, usually that one. And it'll just be like, whoa, wait a minute, where the hell did that come from? What made you think of this? Just like shit I would never think of during the day. I'll be walking around, people start saying crap to me, and I'm trying to think about who's a better duck, Daffy or Donald. It doesn't make any sense. But at least that little stupid way of thinking doesn't affect me in a dangerous way or affect the world in a negative way. So it just really confuses the hell out of me that people would think about the most damnedest things. And then it comes to a point where I start to realize, is it because they have a lack in knowledge? Not just a lack in knowledge of humanity, but a lack of knowledge of God. And because of that lack of knowledge, they're prone to find things that only someone of wicked nature would be able to accept. And that's just my honest belief and my honest opinion, man. And with that, I'm just going to say we have to be right and find that moral high ground, wherever it is for us, and take the high road and let all the other stuff fall beneath us. It's like when you're dealing with somebody that's pissed off and so forth, and they're all in your face screaming at things, and none of the things they're saying is actually true or right. Then you got to look at them and say, hey, I'm above you. As wicked as that sounds. But in some cases, it's the honest to God truth. Because this is how people who truly care for themselves think when they look at people who've given up and decide to fall for everything and try to force you to believe that the fucking is raining down your back when they're pissing down it the whole time. So that's just what I gotta say. Now you can take with what you want with that. But the only thing I can tell you, we have a moral obligation to look out for our fellow man, fellow woman, for fellow child. We have an obligation to try to grow with one another in a positive way. But I believe there's so much boredom and so much stress in this country that it will always come out in a certain way unless people try to change what's going on right now. People are waiting for the great change. They're waiting for Christ's return. There's other people who's waiting for the government to go against us and robots and thinking Terminator is going to happen and all this crap. But we got to be more realistic and think about your soul, your heart, and what matters the most. Truly matters. Not some, oh, let's go get high, no, let's go get drunk, all that dumb crap. But what truly matters, you know, and fix the things. Instead of talking the same thing over and over again. I got a thing where I hate getting repeated the same shit to me all the time. And I hate hearing myself repeat things. So it's like unless I'm being funny, which is a rarity sometimes. But the whole thing is that I hate a person that continues to nag at you about something, but yet they won't do anything to change it. Looks at you for the opportunity to help change their world, but they don't want to look in themselves to see how they can make a change to make their world better. That's an issue. That's a problem, and these things need to be thought about more. It's people limiting themselves to so many ridiculous things. I had a conversation with someone and I was explaining stuff, made it all simple. The dude kept making it complicated, confusing, and just annoying ass conversation. And I said to him, he was saying, I can't do this. I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. I said, are you American or Americant? He said, I'm American. And I said, well, act like American and quit saying you can't do things. Okay? I'm sick of that shit. Just do what you got to do. A man's got to do what he has to do to survive. That's the bottom line. And we ain't figured that out yet. You might never will, and you're not the man you think you are. And anyway, all I can say is there's a time and a place for everything. And that time will come when karma will strike back. And that time will come when God puts you in the right place to do what it is you're meant to do on this earth. So you have to be open and willing to take it all in or fall to the wayside. So with that being said, this has been Moral High Ground. Hopefully I hit some kind of moral chord for you, something that made sense. Logic. I think I was quite uh, logical in this sense. And trying to just to make people understand we can be better. We can be better. And we deserve better. So like I said, peace be with you all. Blessings upon you always. And don't give up, people. Don't give up on the good fight. Don't give up on trying to do what's right. And just have faith. Peace.